I'm gonna start recording this. We're just gonna do a couple house cleaning tips first. Tips and not tips, but I don't know what I'm talking about. A little bit of info before we ease into our call. All right, so we are gonna go over March Success Club. And so let's see, we have myself with 16, Carrie Steelman Smith with 12, Bailey Glazer with 12, and if I murder your name, I'm sorry. Joyce with 10, Kelly Wiseman with 8, Megan Gutenberg with 8, Lisbeth with 6, Devontae Goldsby with 6, Michelle Katz with 6, Kristen Gavin with 6. New coaches killing it. Oh my gosh, good job, guys. Heather Phillips with 6, Maribel Garrez with 6, Evans with 6, Catherine DeMonte with 4, Dedra Wilson with 6. Say it again. Was someone saying something? You just weren't muted was probably what was going on. I'll mute you. I mute everyone. Heath McDowell with 2, Shelby Brown with 2, Lisa Scolas with 2, Jackie Howe with 2, Delana, I cannot even see that. I need glasses on. With 2, Suzanne Myers with 2, Jessica Grimsley with 2, Amanda Hucks with 4, Lori Curtis with 2, Randy Oliphant with 2, Catherine Triss with 2, Lauren Owens with 2, Deborah Wilson with 2, Tim Ottaway with 6, and then top recruiters. This is bringing in new coaches. So to take a step back, you get 2 Success Club points for every challenge pack that you change a life with. So you definitely, to move your business forward, Beachbody kind of sets that up so that you can hit a benchmark in your business to clearly move it forward. I don't want to say that clearly you can be a successful Beachbody coach in so many ways by starting with your own physical transformation, changing lives. There's so many different ways, but I've talked to a lot of you guys about your why, and you know, it's nice to make money. It's nice to be able to afford your choices and do things, and trying to hit that Success Club, getting to Emerald, unlocking your business center. And for most of you guys on this call, everybody on here is pretty much Emerald, close to Emerald, will be in the next few months, and Diamond. So you guys are moving your business forward. Especially in the beginning when you first start being a Beachbody coach, guys, you kind of feel like you're hanging on a cliff and you're just like falling into this like pit of, oh my gosh, everyone's telling me no, this isn't right for me, I need to quit. But you know what, guys, you don't go into, for example, if you were gonna be a nurse and you go in to be a nurse and the first, I say, few months, 6 months to a year in this business, you are learning. You don't just walk away and quit or turn your back on it because you've had a couple no's. Your no's are gonna lead to a yes. And as you're reading your personal development, as you're reading books on entrepreneurship, no's, there's books written out there called Go for No. Because when you get a lot of no's, eventually you are gonna get a yes. And I know that we always see the highlights. We always see the highlights like Success Club, and you know, you'll see Carrie Steelman 3-star diamond qualifying, and you'll see you know, Megan Gutenberg close to diamond, and then you'll see, you know, so many different things out there. But a lot of times I feel like we don't talk about the ugly stuff. And I just wanted to share with you guys before I turn the team call over a couple things that have happened to me this week and why having thick skin in this business is so very important. So I was at the beach for like 10 days, and I think I'm stuck in that 9-to-5 mentality where I'm like, I can work from anywhere. So why am I in my office working? Like, go to the ocean. Like, what are you doing? So finally, I packed up and I went to the ocean. It's like right down the road, pretty much, a few hours away. And anyway, I was there, guys. I was like, you know what? It is the 3rd of the month. And I got 12 people that are signing up on Friday. Guys, I promise you, building relationships, like once I get on the computer, they're going to sign up. I am ready. I'm going to Cancun next week, and I'm like, I've been killing this past couple of months, feeling super positive. Well, guess what? Rain on your parade is going to happen, and I want to share that with you because I know we always see the highlights. And real quick, 2 people blocked me. Right when they said, when I get home from work, I'm going to sign up. 2 people blocked me. Another person had said that they were going to sign up. They're actually going to do it next week, which is fine. I'm going to be supportive in their journey because we all have stuff, and I have to respect that. And then I had 2 people that actually signed up, which was awesome. And then 3 other people that said that they were going to sign up and then just decided not to, no reason, and then that just happens. And honestly, that can be very self-defeating in this business. That can be very like what the heck, you know? And then you see the leaderboard and you see so-and-so has 80,000 million points and you're like, what am I doing wrong? And the reality is you're not doing anything wrong. You just have to be stubborn enough to find the people that want to join you. And when you don't have to sign up half of America, guys, to have success in this business. It is not built for you to sign up 60,000 million people and drive yourself crazy and lose your mind and create tons of work. You need 5 people that are going to want to run with you, that are like you, that you can see yourself sharing a hotel room with, running with, and building this business with. You don't need 87,000 million Success Club points. So changing a couple of lives is really, and staying true to your journey, staying true to your fitness goals, and focusing on what you control. Because you guys flood my inbox with messages. I just wanted to give you that pep talk really quick. Because we do share the highlights, but I know that these no's lead to a yes. I also know that I read personal development, and I know that as I share authentically in my fitness journey, my ups and downs, my successes and my struggles, the people that I'm looking for that were the Marie before Beachbody are going to want to join me. So if so-and-so didn't want to and wanted to block me, I've been down that road, and I'm not in the convincing business. And I don't want any of you guys to be in the convincing business either. Because a lot of you guys have sent me messages like, if I'm going to talk her into it or convince her to do it, you do not want to do that, because you are going to set yourself up for a huge headache long-term in this business. All right? So I just talked way too long. All right, so I know Carrie's probably in the background like, just let her start. So we have, I know, she's probably like over there with a sign like, with the axe. We are going to go ahead and start our, we have a great speaker tonight, and I was going to introduce her and tell all this awesome stuff about her, but I'm pretty sure that she is going to share a little bit about her journey before she gets into the meat of it. So I'm going to turn it over, and here we go.
Okay. Are you recording?
Yes.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Kay Bella. So like Marie said, I'll share a little bit about myself here at the beginning. First off, I guess the very basics. I am the 5th of 6 children. I'm originally from Maryland, but I live in Kansas right now. And I was previously a teacher a couple of years ago. I graduated with a teaching degree. And I also did something called the World Race, and I went to 11 countries over 11 months when I was about 23. So I've been pretty well traveled. I'm now married to an Albanian guy, and we own a restaurant here in Kansas. But when I was teaching and before I met my husband, I was getting really overwhelmed and just felt constantly bombarded with way too much. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't really doing anything to look out for my health or my well-being. And so alcohol became a way that I started coping and trying to get through the day, because I would get really shaky and nervous at the thought of having to start another day and being overwhelmed all over again. And so so that became my tool in the night, in the evening. And then I'd go to try and teach the next day, sometimes hungover. It was not a pretty thing. I was teaching 10th grade English at the time. So after 2 hospitalizations, after drinking too much, and ending up in the mental health unit of the hospital for, they believed I was highly suicidal, and so they wanted to keep me there for a couple of days. I finally talked to my therapist, and she convinced me to go to an inpatient facility for a week. So during that time, I really took a lot of time to think about what was happening for me and what I wanted out of life and where it was headed. I knew it wasn't with teaching, but at the time I couldn't do much about that. But recently, about a year and a half ago, I started in the counseling program. So I'm about to finish my master's program in counseling. So when I am working with Beachbody clients, I look at kind of the holistic approach of like, we need to get everything in order. Self care does not look like one thing. Self care does not look like just good nutrition. It does not look like just a rock and bod where we look really great. So much of it is mental. And I felt like even in the past when I was working out, I didn't have a good headspace and I was very critical of myself. If I didn't stick to something 100%, I saw myself as a failure and I treated failure as kind of the enemy and as the bad thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I was also labeled with, my therapist thought maybe I had borderline personality disorder. I fit all the criteria for that. I was also labeled with major depressive disorder, anxiety, and all sorts of things. So since that time, I've now overcome so many of those boundaries and so many of those labels and limitations. And it wasn't through prescription, it wasn't through medication, although that did help for a time. But there's a time once we get past that then we can reach out of that. So I'll be talking today about how I reached Success Club so quickly, but also kind of what works for me with my tribe when I'm reaching out to people. So I've been a coach since November, and I haven't had any challengers until this Success Club, and now I'm at Success Club 6.
Woo, woo.
So thanks. But what works for my tribe is the fact that it's been all of this time that has allowed me to build relationships with people, so that then suddenly in April, it was like everybody was ready. I reached out to people and they were suddenly really excited to jump in because they had been reserved, they had held back. But I stuck with them and I stayed consistent with them because with my tribe and with myself in the past, what I would have done is I wouldn't have given in. I wouldn't have trusted the process. I wouldn't have trusted that the person cared about me. And so for me, so much of my tribe is about investing in them and showing them that I care. So with that, one of the things that I found most important has been listening. So less of you and more of them. It's about their journey. It's not about where we come from. I mean, it's great to share our journey and that's going to invite them in. But beyond that, when you are inviting them and when you're talking to them, listen to what it is that they're reserved about and what they're holding back on. And with this, sometimes it's funny because they'll say like, well, I can't afford that right now, or they have all the excuses, and we know the responses to those objections, right? Like Beachbody's laid them out for us, they give us scripts. But if you're not listening to the person to what's behind their limitation, then you may be tailoring your response to the wrong issue. So sometimes it's not about the money. They'll say, I can't afford that. But for instance, with me, back when I moved here a couple years ago, I had a subscription to the YMCA for like 3 or 4 months and I never went. So for me, that was a waste of money. There was no reason for me that I should be putting the money there because I wasn't using it. So if people are believing that they're not going to use Beachbody on demand, if they think that they are in a defeating process and they're never going to overcome it, then they're going to say it's the money. So if we listen for what's kind of behind their response, and that it's not about the money, it's not about the time, maybe it's about the overwhelm, maybe it's about them trying to manage their time and not feeling like they can be spread in another area. How can you listen to them and care for them and let them know that this is a safe place and this is also a place where they can relax and be at peace and they can learn and grow comfortably. This does not have to be another pressured situation that they put themselves into. This is an invitation for them to take care of themselves. So if we reframe it however they're needing for, and by listening to what their concerns are, we can draw in those people that before we would have said, well, they said it was the price. And then I told them how great this offer was and how worth it was because of all these things that they're going to get, when really that wasn't the root of their issue. So listening is one of the things that really works for me. Depth, so invite more and post less. So I was really getting caught up in posting on Instagram and posting in my story and doing all these things. And those are important. Those have their time and their place, but they're not what it's all about. The most important things are going to be the relationships and the connections that you make because of that. So, for instance, I was encouraged in a couple of different ways, and some people take the approach of doing 100 invites and then seeing like if like 10 or 15 people will follow them. I actually found this to be pretty overwhelming for me, and I also found that I was unfollowing people that were actually my tribe, but they didn't know they were my tribe and they didn't know me. To be honest, if I see that somebody has started following with me, I'm actually aware of the process that that goes through where they can like follow a bunch of people and then unfollow all at once. And so, to be honest, I don't really even look at those anymore. Like, I don't look at the people that are following me when they first sign up. So I was like, okay, so if I'm speaking to my tribe, they're probably thinking the same thing. They're probably doing the same thing. And so, how can I engage with them? What would work for me for engagement? Well, when somebody likes my post or they comment, a genuine comment, not like a predictable, stereotypical comment that you can get posted in there. If it's something that I can tell is genuine, I reach out to the person, and I'm very comfortable with asking them, what stood out to you about my post? Because my posts are all related to mental health, they're all related to addiction, they're related to my funny relationship with my husband and the way that we have to laugh things off sometimes. Um, they're they're genuinely all different parts of me and my walk with a healthy lifestyle. So by me asking them what stood out to you about my post, I have people then responding with, well, actually, I deal with an eating disorder, or I dealt with one in the past, or actually, I have been really struggling with addiction and this overcoming this area of my life. Whether that addiction is food, video games, alcohol, drugs, whatever their addiction is, any of it. When we take out something with an addiction, we need to find something to replace it with, and with a healthier lifestyle and focusing instead on nutrition and mental health and personal development, by focusing on that instead of our issue with addiction and, oh, I'm such a bad person, and, oh, all I want to do is drink, all I want to do is eat. If we can help them to reframe that addiction and that addictive mindset to something that is productive and good for them, then that's the change that needs to be happening. So by asking them what stood out to them about the post, I already am hitting on what's going to be their why for getting healthy. They are telling me, I don't have to say like, are you on a health and fitness journey? They're on a wellness journey. We all are. We're all trying to figure out how to make sense of this crazy life sometimes. And so by opening up that kind of conversation, it leads to their why instead of necessarily like just health and fitness, which they may not even realize at this point that they need. So along with that, just being genuine and admitting, sometimes I think one thing that I struggled with at first was admitting that I didn't like something with Beachbody. And I think I definitely think that's okay sometimes, because we're not going to agree 100%. And by opening up that and being like, yeah, I know some of this is kind of weird, or yeah, this is a little hard to understand at first, but I'm going to walk you through it. Yeah, it may sound like a lot up front, but what I found was that the content and the value of it and the relationships that I was able to build was so much more valuable. So by admitting, not only that it's a struggle, but also that it's worth it, and being authentic about that was something that I felt was really powerful for my crew. Um, Also, consistency and person-centered focus. Guys, sometimes people need to be fought for. We all like it when somebody says, no, you're worth it to me. No, I want you to stay with me. And I had people that initially in the beginning, they were like, that's not for me. No, no, I don't want that. And I was like, you know what? I just love this person. It's somebody from my past. I really think they're a cool person. And I want to keep talking to them, whether they sign up as a challenger under me or not. I want to be a good friend to them and show them what a healthy lifestyle can look like. And so by being consistent with them, now one of them, actually two, three of them Three of them are my challengers now. I have a couple that are going to sign up in the next couple months. So as I've been consistent with them and just genuinely cared about the person first, instead of, okay, well, is this going to get me a point, or are they going to buy a challenge pack? No, they're not. Okay, I'm going to move on. Instead of doing that, I put the person first and cared about them so authentically that they then are seeing that I'm not going anywhere. I love you beyond this. And I think that's really powerful, especially for the people that are dealing with a lot of the mentality of like, because how weird is it sometimes what we do? It looks weird. We go, we contact people through social media and we say, hey, you look like a cool person. You want to be part of my group? Like, hey, we're cool. All you gotta do is pay $160 or whatnot. Like, we look sketchy sometimes. And if we are not true to that and show them that, like, yeah, you're actually really cool and I'm going to follow you for a little while, or let's have a phone call or things like that, that's, we show that we are going to fight for them and care for them beyond anything else. I also kind of changed my marketing technique. For my tribe, I changed it to be more, instead of about like, how can, like, you want to join my group and we're going to tone up and get rockin' summer bods and stuff like that. What I found though was that then people were kind of turned off because it had a short-term mindset. It's, oh, well, I'm just going to get this for the summer. But what I really want is a lifestyle of health and wellness. And so they are seeking something that they know is not going to be short term. They know that they need to invest longer. And when we approach it in a short term mindset, then it can be kind of off putting, I feel. And like I said, at least for the people that I'm working with and my group. So by changing it to be instead like, look, I have a good group of ladies and we're going to get together this summer. We're going to work on being stronger mentally and physically and kind of see how we can live a life that is more full and we're able to do more than we thought we could. We'll have more energy, whatever it is that I end up tailoring into that first script that is more true to a long-term lifestyle of overcoming a lot of these mental barriers. And even regulation when it comes to emotional or personal regulation. I mean, nobody likes a grumpy, crazy mom that's going to snap every 5 seconds. So by creating this kind of longer term, like emotional regulation, we can start to tailor that to how it's going to help the person in the long term, which will also, not only does that help initially with getting them to become involved, but then if they have this longer term mindset that they want to be an overcomer, they want to stay with it long term, you also have those more consistent challengers because you're attacking the hardest part to overcome. It's not the physical boundaries that we have. It's not just getting to the grocery store. The whole root of that, where it starts, is going to be with the mentality. So if you want long-term consistent people to stay with you, you got to go with the mind first. It's like mind over everything else. Because that's, and I speak that from my experience. So maybe some of you don't agree, but for me, when I used to work out, I was running, I did a triathlon in 2009. And to me, that was, it was fine, but I hadn't developed a long-term mindset. I was like, I finished the triathlon and, I didn't really know too much about nutrition and I didn't stick with it for very long. And so by helping people to keep that more consistent in the long term, that can really help them to say, oh, this is a lifestyle change and she's going to stay with me until I fully get it. Because now at this point, I love Carrie, but I don't feel like I need her to continue to be there with me. But with her coaching, I was able to get to that place. She didn't give up on me initially. Like Carrie invited me to be, it's a little backstory here. So Carrie invited me to be a challenger and a coach several years ago. I've actually been a coach twice now and backed out of it a couple years ago. So I'm one of those flip-floppers that's always in and out. So if you ever give up on somebody, just remember I was one of those. But she stuck with me. She was still a friend throughout these last couple years. And there was even a period of about 2 years where I didn't talk to her because I wasn't in a healthy place. And I was actually kind of jealous of the fact that she was getting so built and strong
sexy.
mentally and sexy. Yeah. So I was like, man, I'm just not there. And so I didn't want to see that, and I didn't want to be part of it because of my mindset. But then when I knew that I was ready, I was able to stop doing that. I was able to reach back out and I said, Carrie, I think I'm ready. And she was like, okay, so here we go. And so she was all ready. She didn't reject me. She didn't say, well, you didn't sign up 2 years ago and you backed out on me twice already, you're not, you can't come back. It was always an invitation, and there was always a willingness that I'm still here for you no matter what. And so now here, 3 years later, here I go, I'm leading team calls and getting challengers. And so much of that is because of the relationship that she established first. So don't give up on your people. The other thing, beyond mentality, inviting. So we have video marketing. So one of the things that I've started using with Instagram is, how you can send 15-second videos to people when you're in direct messenger. So I use that especially at pivotal points. For instance, I had somebody that was struggling with the money. They were saying that it was the money. So I reached out to them through the video, just a 15-second video, because what I felt was that they weren't trusting themselves, and 2, they weren't trusting me. And we can read so much more in body language and facial expression and eyes than we can when it comes to text. How many of you misinterpret sometimes messages or texts or things like that? It's so easy to be like, yeah, this person seems kind of sketchy, or they're kind of weird. But if you see them interact and you see them respond to you, oh, actually, they're just really funny, or they're just kind of quirky, or, they really are genuine. They can read that in your body language. So by utilizing those videos, it's allowed me to reach out to people that were following, but they weren't responding when I would do an invite. So for instance, I had somebody that she was following all of my stories. She was liking my posts, and I don't know if she maybe commented. I think she mostly was just liking them. So I messaged her and I said, are you interested in being a challenger? We're getting a group together. And she didn't respond. And so I was thinking about it, and I was like, she still seems like she's following something though, there's something there. So I reached out to her through the video and just sent her a 15-second video and said, look, I know you don't know me. I know maybe it seems kind of sketchy for me to reach out to you when you don't know me. But I noticed that you're following a lot of my things, and I just kind of wanted to see if there's anything that you're needing from me, or if there's any way that I can help you. And so within that, then she responded and she said, well, actually, my dad's in the hospital right now. And so I can't do it right now. I can't get involved in this, but I really like your positivity, and I really like where you're coming from. And I'm finding it very inspirational during this hard time. And so, yes, go ahead and send me the information on being a challenger, and I'll look at it when I get the chance. And I said, are you sure? You want me to send it now? I can wait until the moment passes. And she was like, no, I want you to send it because it'll take my mind off of it. And so my dad's trying to call. Sorry about that. They go black. So I sent her the information about it, and she said, okay, thanks. I'll look at it when all of this passes. So I had another person also that she reached out to me, and she said, well, I'm going through a divorce right now, but once all that's passed, then I'll be interested in doing the challenge. So people they're interested. Sometimes we think, okay, well, they're following me, but then they're not responding, and so they must just, whatever. But a lot of times it's just that it's not their moment, it's not their time, they're not ready. And they're not in a good enough place. They may be really, really busy and hectic right now. But in a couple months, they're going to stick with you if you're posting something that is of interest to them and something that can inspire and encourage them. Carrie, what is it, those three things that people get on social media for?
For inspiration, education, or entertainment.
Inspiration, education, or entertainment. So mostly what I go for is the inspiration part of that, but also sometimes entertainment because I love my husband and I think he's really funny. So we post lots of like random things. Yeah, and teaching as well. I mean, with me being a previous teacher. So any way that we can utilize those three things to keep people coming back, you know, that's what they're going to connect with and stay with. So so rejection does not always mean like, you know, them not responding is not necessarily rejection. And I had somebody that was pretty nasty to me the last couple of days. She was a previous friend, although we weren't very close, but she misinterpreted my invitation to be in a fitness group and felt like I was being insensitive to where she was. And the way that we had apparently left things, which I didn't realize there was an issue. And so within that, though, what I recognize um, is that each person is at their own place, like they're in their own space, and um, I can't take that personally. You know, that wasn't on me. There were so many things that I had to look at and say, okay, did I do that? You know, was that accurate what she said about me? You know, really evaluate those things because I don't like to just shrug off rejection. I don't like to shrug off people when they tell me that I hurt them in some way. So evaluating that and then now moving forward, I can take some of that and say, okay, yes, she was right about this, but she was not right about this, and that's on her. You know, she's dealing with a lot of her stuff as well. And so I've been trying to work on a healthier way of dealing with rejection, whereas before it used to be alcohol or isolation or like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I reject everyone. Nobody can come into these walls. And so I'm trying to deal with it in a healthier way. And so I definitely use a lot of personal development. So one of my favorite books lately has been How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that one has a lot of information about like kind of what I talked about with listening and how that can be what is most powerful for people is when we listen to them. You know, we don't even have to say anything. And Dale Carnegie was talking about how how his he went to like a dinner party or something. He was talking to this botanist, and so the botanist was like going on, and all he did was just sit there and ask questions. And wow, that's really fascinating. And I didn't know that before. And wow, that's really interesting. And so it's like this, and so it's like this. So he asked him questions just about his own field. And afterwards, the botanist like took him up to the host at the party and was like, "This guy's awesome, and you know he knows so much, and he does this, and he's amazing." And Dale was like, all I did was sit there and listen to him. Like I didn't know anything about botany. So it really was kind of, you know, he was just mainly talking. I just asked the questions. But it's that attentiveness, you know, when people feel listened to, it's connected for a lot of people to respect and care and compassion on a deeper level. So the more that we can do that, I feel like the more we can have effective communications with people. So with that, I guess that's kind of all I have for that. So if you guys, I don't know, when I did this with the other team call, I just opened it up to questions if anybody had questions. So we can do it that way, or Marie, if you have a different idea, that's fine.
No, definitely. That was awesome. And thank you so much for sharing. I've actually been following you myself on social media for a while. And, you know, Carrie Stillman's on our team, and, you know, she is in our downline. So you're actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but actually Dedra and Suzanne and Heather, your guys' business is kind of all related. So it's good for you guys to team up and meet each other because you're on the same side of my downline, which is kind of cool too. So it's definitely good for you guys to go in your online office and kind of see who's down there, because especially for you, Heather, there's a lot of people down there. So there's a lot of people down there, and you might be following these awesome people on Instagram and then be like, oh my gosh, like we are on the same team. So I've actually been following you for a while, and I connect with you a lot in so many different ways. I'm still working myself on peeling back my own layers because there's a lot of things about myself that I don't share on social media. I actually shared some things with you. We actually talked last week on a call, but and those things are important, just breadcrumbing it, because that is how you're going to find your tribe, and that's how you are going to find people that are like you, and that you are going to be able to connect with. And that's just kind of how it goes. I do have a question for you, though. I have a couple I wrote down. Hold on, I put them in my phone. Hold on. I'm like seriously a mess. Okay. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for struggling new overwhelmed coaches?
Oh gosh. Been there, still there sometimes. As I'm in my master's internship, I find it really overwhelming, but kind of in the same way when it comes to wellness and holistic living, it's okay, so what's out of balance? If I'm feeling overwhelmed, it typically means that I need a break, or whether that's just a break from the work or I need somebody to talk to or laugh with. Just finding what it is at that time that you're needing and listening to your body, listening to those signs. So for me, I feel like a heart flutter, and I know that that's my signal to, I need to take it down a notch. And I also listen to the personal development based on whatever topic I'm struggling with. So like I said, like with rejection, if it's overwhelmed with like, oh gosh, I need to get people organized, I try to just like, when I'm doing something else, so I'm meal prepping, and I'll also listen to personal development on how different people have organized their stuff. And so just chunking it and feeling like, okay, so this week is my focus this week. We talk sometimes about push goals and stuff. So having a certain goal for like the month is a really good one. Right now I've been kind of doing weekly ones because there are little things that I need to learn that don't take a whole month. But, you know, maybe this week, for instance, like last week, the first week in April was, how many challengers can I get this week? So my goal was actually 10, but I got, I think 4. Yeah, 4 at this point. So, I mean, I didn't reach that push goal, but it really pushed me to see what I was made of and see how many I could get. But the previous weeks it was, okay, I need to work on tracking this week, or I really need to focus on, just things for myself actually for a while. Like, okay, is my nutrition good? And is my fitness habit good? Am I being consistent with these things? Because again, if we're not taking care of ourselves, how are we going to care for other people?
Exactly.
And we're not going to be in a good headspace to deal with them. So when dealing with the overwhelm, just reading the signs of your body, what's happening for you, and what that translates to for you, and asking yourself those kind of questions like, okay, how can I break this into something smaller and more manageable? What can I focus on now? Because we can't do it all at once. But how can I focus on this small thing?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I know we all get there. We all get overwhelmed. And really breaking it down and having those small goals that lead to the bigger goals is so important. Making sure that you write those down and have a clear vision. I really like how you shared about not having to post 50,000 posts a day. You actually work against yourself when you are doing that on Facebook. You work against yourself. And some of you guys, just for a little thing that I see, because I do this full time, so I'm always online. And just a couple tips that I wanted to throw out there is, if you are always posting about how you are so freaking excited because it is 5 a.m. and you are working out right now, you might freak people out. Or if you're posting 87,000 times a day with your glam light and you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy because I just made this shake that kind of tastes like chocolate, not blended for 4 minutes. Just kidding. I mean, like, I have a hard time with my Shakeology, you know, like I have to blend it for 4 minutes. But I mean, like, you just make sure that you're sharing things that, I mean, that was authentic, right? I mean, I have to blend mine for 4 minutes or I can't drink it unless Carrie makes it for me with water and like, eat it, drink it now, and then I'll do it. But, you know, focusing on, we fall into these things, and I see the frozen coach. I don't mean to call it the frozen coach, but I call it the frozen coach, where we work out, we drink our Shakeology, we're probably reading every book there is. We're posting 87,000 times a day, but sometimes, like she mentioned, connecting with your tribe, slowing down, building those relationships, talking to people to see what they need, what they don't need, really connecting with them is what's really going to build you those strong relationships and that strong tribe of people. I was in a mom group where, you know, even last year, I used to just like mass invite people all the time. And when I went to the mom events, and because moms, you guys, like, I'm a mom, but I don't feel like moms are my tribe. It's like weird, like, it's the weirdest thing. So I was like, I'll go to the mom lunch, you know, and I went to the mom lunch, which still kind of freaked me out. And I went to the mom lunch, but then I was like, you know, the people that I would invited, I actually made friends with them. And then we go to the gym together, and then they come over and they work out, and we go for walks together, and then our kids play together. And lo and behold, they're joining me. Those are some of my best coaches now, you know. And if I was just like, hey, so, and I do that. I got a whole list of people that I'm like, hey, are you on a wellness journey too? Hundreds. I do it all day long. But I also have my creepy book of names, but on the other side, the people that I can really spend that time with and, you know, authentically connect with and do that is so, so important, you know, to do that, because that's really what's going to move your business forward. You might get lucky and you're going to get a couple out of your creepy book of names, but when you're really going to get a lot of people is spending that time with them, connecting with them. When they tell you no, they're going to the gym, maybe go back next week and ask them how the gym was. Are you still working out? Hey, girlfriend, I haven't seen you work out, you know, and I got a whole list of those people that I do that with, you know, and that makes a huge, huge difference. So I know I have one last question for you. What motivates you on your days where you're not feeling motivated? It's like a hard question, I think. I don't know.
Oh no, that's what gets me up every day. So
Yeah.
I think at the moment, my mental stability was the main one that started me. And also last semester, I was in an addiction class, and like I said, you need to replace it with something. So I was still struggling with alcohol even last semester. And so I finally was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And so for me, it was I need to be healthy so that I can let go of alcohol and not need that as a coping tool. So this is really how I survive. You know, I wouldn't be able to make it through the day if I didn't do what I do now.
Yeah.
As far as motivating me for coaching, my husband and I know we're not going to stay in Kansas for very long. I've always wanted a mobile lifestyle, be able to move around. So is my husband. I'm not very traditional. Oh, I got my mic up.
No, it's happening.
I'm not very traditional when it comes to like having a 9-to-5 job. I like just talking with people and working with people, and having more free-flowing conversation. And so counseling, the idea of counseling is kind of like you sit on the couch and like, yes, tell me about your feelings. And that's not my style. I'm more like, hey, can we go get a coffee? Hey, can, you know, we go walk at the park? You know, none of this, like, I only see you for 1 hour a week and then I'm done. So
Yeah.
for me, I really wanted the genuine coaching connection where like I can text you and say, hey, did you take a walk today? Did you get outside? You know, how's your week going? What's going on with you? I haven't seen you, you know, tracking your information in a little while. So like being able to have, I care very much about like helping other people, and I feel like that is just an intrinsic thing. But when it comes to like seeing people do well and seeing people make the kind of progress that I made is like, I guess it's my way of maybe giving back to the people that invested in me and cared about me when I didn't feel that I was worth it and I didn't feel that I could make it. And there were still people that stayed with me in that time, and they cared enough to not let me go. And so now I can do that for other people.
Right.
I'm not gonna look at her because I'll probably cry. But yeah, just not giving up on those people because people didn't give up on me. So having that kind of perspective. And my husband and I, we want to. He's an Albanian. Came here 6 years ago, learned English, brought himself up from the very bottom, like had nothing, and worked his ass off every day, and still does every day, 10 to 12 hours a day. He does everything. I see the weight on his shoulders and the stress that he has, and he so much has this perspective that he wants to work hard for a short time and then be able to live his life the way that he wants. And so I try to work with him on those kind of things and like how we can make that actually happen. And so coming up with a way that we could do a mobile lifestyle, I can still help people and do what I want to do, but I can also support the two of us so that he can actually do what he wants to do instead of feeling like he always has to be putting food on the table for us, because that's his thing, is like, you know, how am I going to take care of you if I go back to school, or if he's an actor. He wants to act. You know, if my husband could do what he wants to do with his life, he told me he'd want to act. And I was like, what? Why have you not done that? And he's like, I want to write a book. And I'm like, why have you not done that? Why am I just hearing about this?
I want to write a book too. Maybe
Yeah.
we can collaborate together. I already have my title.
I'm sure you two would have the same book title.
You and my husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wants to write a book, but his English is not very good. And so I was an English teacher, so I'm like, I could help you on that. And he's like, well, I have to work 10 to 12 hours a day, and I'm tired when I come home. So if I can find a way to bring in income and care for people the way that I want to, and coach people and help people, while also bringing in income that allows him to live the life that he wants to live, that isn't necessarily always going to bring in income. I know he'll still do that anyway, because that's how he is. But if I can at least alleviate some of that stress and allow us to live a more free lifestyle, then, you know, that keeps me going and keeps me inviting and helping other people too.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so important to have that strong why, and because, you know, if you don't have a strong why, guys, and if you're not pushing towards a goal and something that really motivates you, you're gonna have more days where you really don't feel like it than I feel like days that you're gonna feel like it. And then when you start really, I don't know, did that sounded bad, but and then eventually, you know, it just becomes kind of habit and like something that, you know, just something that you do. So who has another question? We have time for a couple more. Hey, Dedra.
Okay, so recently this came about because I had a new challenger. Well, she's actually a new coach, but not a
Can you turn yourself up just a little bit?
Can you hear me?
You just sound like you're far away, but it's just me. Go ahead. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, depression is getting pretty high now, especially when women are trying to get back. Can you hear me?
No, maybe you could just type it.
You sound like you're under the sea, dude.
You sound like you're under the water, but it's kind of cool to try to figure out. Just go ahead and type it, or you can voice it to me and I'll play it. So many options.
That's cool. Yeah, you could do that. I don't think you can do it.
You could just voice it to me and then I can play it. That was an awesome idea. I need a break. This one lady right now, I've been talking to her too, and she told me last night, sent me messages about how she hated herself and her life, and she wanted to join, but it was going to be too hard. And we talked for a good hour, and then and just connecting and talking about so many things. And then me this morning, I was like, so I really enjoyed talking to you last night and connecting with you. I really would love to, help you and send her this like message, whatever. And she sent me again. She's like, I'm just frozen in fear and so scared. I'm just undecided how to move forward with my health and wellness journey. So like sometimes, like literally guys, like while she's sending that over, like this relationship, like look like, oh, we have been talking. She told me no, and then we had to undercover it. Well, why? And she has no willpower. She has no time. She was talking about, we were talking. She has no willpower. She doesn't have any confidence. She sees, the workouts that they're too hard, and which I've got to stop doing that too. I know that for my own message I'm putting out there, but she, just talking about that. So you're not going to always it's not going to always be black and white. Like, do you want to join me? Here's the info. Yes, no. Well, why? What's holding you back? What are your concerns? Because typically when someone tells you no, there's something they don't understand about it. And me as a coach and as a trying to change lives and offer hope to people and help them, sometimes you need to slow down, really focus on, like she said, what their wants and needs are. Because I know for a fact that she will join us, but I know that it's just going to take a little bit more time. So don't give up on people. Ooh, I got Dudger's voicemail.
Yeah, and I think taking those baby steps as well, and because there is so much, like maybe they need to do the new program that's coming out, or like with just focusing on food.
Mm-hmm.
So just focusing on food, or maybe they just a little bit at a time. Like even with one of my life coaching clients, she's not even a Beachbody person right now, but I said, what can you do just this week? Have her come up with a goal. And she said, well, I think I can give up cheese. I was like, okay, step one, you get headaches from these things, you get migraines from these things. So instead of saying give up all the food that gives you migraines, which she knows is a very limited amount.
And that's what people think too. They think tomorrow they have to sign up and start eating lettuce, just lettuce,
yeah,
and work out 7 days a week. Like that's what I used to think. When I grew up as a competitive dancer, that's what I thought it was, and it's not.
Yeah.
Yes, Carrie.
Do you want to do Dedra's first, and then I can ask my question?
Yeah, I am.
Can't read that.
The voice, the message.
Oh, I thought I was supposed to be able to read it. I was like, I can't do that.
And it's
can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, there you go.
I had to turn off the speaker. I had a speaker so I could hear you guys. I can hardly hear you, but I'll talk to you. Okay, so now I had a challenger become a coach, all in 2 days. So she is saying that we talk enough about fitness, nutrition, and getting ourselves together, but we don't talk enough about depression, and depression is rising. So I dealt with a little bit depression of myself, but I'm not an expert at it to throw it out there to tell people how to cope with it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just trying, I'm trying to get her inspired because she has no patience whatsoever. And she tells me this, so I have to constantly cheer her on, even though she does a great job anyway, because she does it automatically, but she loses her focus and then she goes in a depression state. So she says we need to bring awareness of depression when we're talking about rebuilding ourselves. So do you have any, insights on that?
I would agree with that, which is why I bring a lot of that in just myself with my own group. Beachbody doesn't necessarily talk about addiction, but they do talk about a healthier lifestyle and a healthier mentality. And so if there is something specific that she's dealing with depression, I mean, that's where they go and talk to a counselor, or they read a professional development that's based on something that they're needing. So yeah, that's not necessarily going to be specific to Beachbody, but when it comes to like overcoming something, for me, like that looked like 2 years of not talking to anybody to figure myself out before I was ready. And that's okay. You know, it may be that she still needs to work through that and get some counseling. It may also be that she just needs to push through. And so that's going to be up to you and up to her to express to you for when she's ready. Because the thing is, like, if you're listening to what her needs are and recognizing, you know, okay, this is the place where you're at, you're saying these are your struggles. What I do with counseling is I focus on a strengths-based approach. So I say, like, okay, so in the past, when you've dealt with a depressing situation, how did you overcome it? And so, or they say like, well, I overcame this in the past, and you say, wow, how'd you do that? You know, you're getting them to think about their strengths. For us, it's funny, but like, if I were to tell you, you're really good at this, wow, you're doing great at that, it's not internalized. Like, the person may still not believe it. I used to get complimented out the wazoo by my family, but I would be like, I'm not as good as they say. I don't believe that for myself. And so by asking them questions, by listening to them and asking them, how did you overcome that? You get them to focus on their strengths and what they can accomplish, and less focused on, well, I'm depressed and this is how I'm always going to be, or I'm anxious and this is how I'm always going to be. So, yeah, I guess, I mean, there's so much that could go into that, and but I guess that's kind of where I would probably start if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, she might even find peace in her workouts. Like, for me, my personality, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do that, and we're not going to. I need to work out. I need to run. I'll talk to a couple people, but me sitting and talking about it's not what helps me. Me working out, running, and being on a consistent thing, like, you know, because she gets overwhelmed, the person that you're talking about, you were saying she gets, shuts people out. And maybe if she was consistent on a program and you could motivate her to really show up not, 4 days a week, let's start with 3, and then the next week we'll do 3, and then maybe we'll do 4. She might find growth in her hormone changes, and things might be falling into place in other ways, to where it might not be a verbal, it might be a physical transformation. It might not be the words that you offer her. It might just be the fitness that transforms her depression, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that may be what you find when you do ask her about her strengths and how she overcame something. She may be like Marie and say, well, I just went for a run and I tried to get it out of my head. Okay, so that's what works for you. And so then you can figure out how to move forward, how it's going to be for that person.
Yes.
Okay.
Carrie Steelman. Smith.
Hi. Yes. Okay. Quick question. So, how you were mentioning something earlier before the call about how talking to Marie really helped you to see like that the way that I do things aren't necessarily the way that she does things, which means you can do things differently. So I was talking to a coach earlier who was really struggling with feeling like it felt ingenuous. It felt ingenuous to invite people kind of out of the blue. Like, just a cold invite felt yucky. It felt icky to this coach. And I know that some people have had a lot of success doing just cold invites, but you really focus more on the relationship. What does that timeline look like for you? And how did it change, like, your approach, having heard her approach?
Yeah, and I don't just send out cold, here's 400 cold invites without, building a relationship either. Like, that's not really my style, but I know that my goal to really build those genuine relationships, I could probably do 3 or 4 of those a month, but my numbers sometimes need to look like 20 to 30 for my income growth. So I combine that, those cold invites with, in addition to the relationship building. So, just to make sure that you guys all know I'm not.
I wasn't talking about you. I wasn't talking about you, but there are coaches who are really, really good at cold invites and it works
Yeah.
for them. But when Kay heard you talk, can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah. Okay, I see what you mean.
I think with cold invites, I actually really hate sales. And I definitely did not want to do this for a long time. And that was because that's how I felt. I felt that it was going to be salesy and I felt like I was going to be pushing my agenda on someone. But when I saw it as I actually have the opportunity to help people, and I looked at it from like an invitation instead of like, hey, this is my agenda and I'm putting that on you. And that's another thing that I got from How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're not pushing any kind of agenda. It's all about them and all about what they are needing from the situation. So when I started looking at that, when I was doing invites and listening more to the people and trying to figure out whether I could serve them and how I could serve them, it became more of an invitation to provide and to care for them instead of like, hey, let me sell you this thing I have. So if my heart is genuine and my heart is authentic, there's really nothing else I can do. I mean, I do have people, sometimes I've had just a couple that have been like, oh, I didn't realize you were trying to sell me something. And that's really off-putting because that's not what I'm doing. That's not what my heart is, and that's not what I'm trying to communicate. But some people are still going to think that, and okay, so we'll either move on.
That's so awkward when that happens too, because you're like, oh, that's so not what you're offering them, this gift and this thing, and that's exactly what you're not doing. So it's so like,
yeah.
What's the timeline like?
Oh yeah, the timeline.
Do you like have a certain amount of time before you ask the person? Or are you waiting to hear like a need first, or how do you know when to actually invite them to a challenge group?
I mean, it depends on how I've met them and how I first interacted with them. If I'm reaching out to somebody that hasn't commented or responded, then I do just do the invitation. I say, look, I'm doing a challenge group that's for physical health and mental well-being, and I've already assessed their page and checked out to see what they're dealing with and see if maybe they are dealing with the same sorts of things. So for instance, if they are in some sort of recovery or they use #recovery, then I'll seek them out and I start building relationship. I don't know that maybe I should have some kind of timeline, but I kind of just feel it out sometimes by like, if we've had a good communication and a good interaction a few times, I may ask them like the next week, or I may ask them even the next day if I know that I'm going to have the time to sit down and again invest in that kind of communication. Then I'll reach out to them during that time. So, but I'm finding that kind of the sweet spot has been about a week between like a conversation and an interaction, because then through that week they've seen my posts and they've kind of followed some of my things. Maybe I've liked or commented on some of theirs throughout the week, and then the following week when I'm like, hey, you want to join something, they're like, yeah, could we have like a phone conversation, or could we talk more because you seem really cool? And I'm like, all right, great, like let's go. So so that's been good. When it's personal relationships, like people that I knew in the past, I actually interestingly seem to find that it takes a lot longer. They want to know that I'm around for good, and unfortunately I haven't been the best friend in the past. I haven't been consistent. Like I said, I used to be an emotional roller coaster all over the place, and all about just like myself and trying to figure out what I was doing and trying to chase the next high sometimes. And so I wasn't the best friend. And so as I'm re-entering some of these people's lives, they are taking time to warm up to me, or since I did know them when I was that way, some of them are still that way. And so I know that it's going to take them a little bit more time, and I need to show investment in them over a couple months. I had somebody, I knew her like 9 years ago, and I talked to her, and she said she used somebody's size workout or something. And I was like, oh, well, I actually do coaching. Like, would you want to join something? All her answers were like very short, like 1-word answers. And I was like, she was really a good friend to me. Like, why is she responding with 1-word answers? Well, she didn't know if I had changed. She didn't know if something, if I was trying to push something or get her to buy something. So we had a 2-hour phone conversation, and she just, we just caught up on each other's lives in the last 9 years, and we still laughed together, and we still had a good time. And she was like, wow, we should do this more often. And it's like, we haven't always been the best people, and being okay with that and being able to go back sometimes is really good. So yeah, those personal relationships take longer. The cold people, usually about a week, sometimes even a month or two. And then I'm really trying to work on my follow-ups and make sure that I follow up with people. I've gone back through and been like, oh gosh, I never even responded to this person. And then I respond to them, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, I'm still here. And they still like want to talk to me. So that's great.
That's awesome.
And making sure that I'm being good about follow-ups as well, so I don't just kind of drop off randomly.
Yeah.
People, so, but yeah.
Awesome. Wow. You have dropped some serious knowledge on us, and I'm definitely going to change how I do some things in my business from talking to you last week and then with this call. I really do appreciate having you on here, and I know that a lot of the girls on our team here can definitely connect with you and use a lot of these ideas, and definitely cannot wait to meet you. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Sunday night, and good to see you, Carrie. I can't wait to see you next weekend. Carrie, what? Say it again.
Kay's going as well.
Oh, she is? Oh, you are going.
Carolyn Nathan's new date.
Oh my God. You are so lucky. That is awesome. That is so awesome. Wow. That's so cool, because I was like, well, we're about to go somewhere. So Kay, Bella, myself, Randy, Heather, Michelle Katz, and Valerie Nelson are all going to Mexico. When are we going? Sunday. So we will be gone. So you guys will have no team call next weekend, which you're probably like, yay, you're free of us, because this is the longest call of your life. But I urge you to keep those invites going, keep the challenge groups pumping, because once I hit Mexico, I promise you, you will not see me. So I'm definitely going to be unplugging once I get there, sharing my, clearly I'm going to be doing my stories and writing down people in my book. But besides that, we will not be having a team call next weekend. So I hope you guys have a great Sunday. Don't forget to never miss a Monday. Tomorrow, Monday workouts. And let's take a quick picture if you guys. So are you staying in, hold on a second, let me.